My name is Mini Paushe, and I'm creating a series of videos um, that I'll be presenting on the topic which I'm titling Reconnecting Humanity. I'm going to give you a little bit information about me and what this content is going to be about. And thank you for joining me. um, Background about me. So I am trained in biomedical engineering and chemical engineering, and over the past few years have gotten really interested in the space of neuroscience. And I've created this series of videos to essentially disseminate information that would otherwise be stuck in research articles and published papers that is only for the most part accessible to the academic community. And I want to make sure that that's easily accessible to general public and in a format that makes sense and is relatable. I'll try my best to not make it too lingo heavy. I'm not trying to be condescending or to oversimplify things. I just want to provide content that you can use in your everyday life and that's actually helpful to you. So, again, the series is called Reconnecting Humanity. It's going to be about 20-minute episodes, about 10 episodes, and kind of going to start off with having a short discussion on why I'm creating this series. So, the year is 2023, and what we've come to see, I recently read an article that really had me surprised. It was by an organization called the American Survey Center, and it basically said that in the 1990s, they surveyed men in particular who self-report that they had zero friends or less. And in 1990, it was about 3% of the American population. And in 2021, it was a staggering 15%. And it keeps increasing. The reason this is a major concern and a public health issue is, I'm sorry about my spelling mistake, is this is a big concern because these people are basically extremely socially isolated and they are highly likely to engage in conspiracy theories or basically like more misogynistic groups. And it kind of goes against human nature. Human nature biologically is geared to be pack animals, to be social animals. And if that doesn't happen, then there's an issue of either having an increase in mental health issues like depression, anxiety, severe mental health issues such as suicidality. Men have a high, almost they're four times as likely as women to commit suicide because of multiple different reasons. But one of the key things is due to society or conditioning, a lot of not just men, humans in general, are kind of disconnected from their true human nature. And that's why the series is titled Reconnecting Humanity. Again, about me, why I'm creating this series is I really kind of have that training as from an engineering perspective in presenting information in like a logical, linear fashion. Um, but I'm also a biomedical engineer, so I understand the medical science behind your nervous system. And any and all mental health related issues or like psychology related issues, they have this notion of being esoteric, but it's all actually based in your nervous system. And I kind of want to equip the public with tools that they can use in their everyday life to help them live these kind of better lives. So let's try to kind of scroll onto a different segment of this page. Let me see if I can do this neater. Okay. Okay. So the main issue right now, what I've come to understand is what's happened with men in the past 2 or 3 decades is basically there's been a gap of some sort. So let's call it I think it's like a little like the tail end of Gen X plus Gen Y plus millennials. So this would be like some, let's just say, between the 19, like 1975 through 1995, people born in that age group. So men in that age group were raised by boomers, and women were also raised by boomers. The women, so in self-disclosure, I'm a feminist. All that means is I believe in gender equality when it comes to opportunity. We are different biologically because of our, hormones and other systems. We, have some people based on the gender have a different skill set than others, but realistically we're all human first. So I think this human first approach, and all humans, need to have equal opportunity. And I think in the discussion of feminism, like when boomers had that discussion, they really heavily focused on women's empowerment. And I'm definitely a recipient of the benefit of that, where my generation received a lot of services and attention in helping us gain better education opportunities and scholarships, but men were really left out in that discussion. And that's kind of critical here, because the issue isn't just like patriarchy and misogyny. It is harmful for all of humanity. It's not just harmful for women, it's harmful for men too, because men have been left out in that discussion and left out from being given the opportunity to really develop into their full humanity. What does that mean? Right? So boomer men, there's this I would say archaic concept of being manly, and an idea of what a macho man, what a real man, quote unquote, looks like, was don't have emotions, never asks for help. You're always on your own. You have to be the provider. You have to be the protector. The only acceptable emotion is anger, and unfortunately, they kind of passed on that same model, or like that is based in patriarchy and misogyny, to this generation of male identifying folk. And the problem with that is boomer men and their equivalent boomer women were raised in very gender binary terms. So their level of entitlement kind of matched the market dynamics, you would say. But for this generation, it doesn't. So these people were raised on a similar belief system that their forefathers were, but like just go get a job, and boom, wife will show up. You can just be the provider. But what happened is millennial women aren't necessarily nurturers. We are providers and nurturers, and this isn't just about like the dating space, but in life in general, at workplaces, in with your neighbor. The concept of your gender basically specifying what your role in society is or in a family is no longer as relevant as it was historically. What we see now is with the next generation of people, so Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So this would be like from 1996 through, I mean, into the future, to children born into 2025. So this generation of children, men, like boys and girls, there's a lot of focus in their schooling systems on what is known as social emotional learning. And a lot of boomer parents are also putting a lot of effort into this. We as children also were receive moral education, but there's a difference there where it's and we can go into that shortly. So just kind of wanted to highlight the issues here, where I have great empathy for this entire segment of population, not particularly only men, but just the entire population in general, but particularly men, because I know I just said not particularly, but particularly. Um, because again, they were told that be this way and you will get this entitlement. So you're not afforded the entitlement of your forefathers, but they also weren't given the opportunities as the next generation. They didn't get this, right? They didn't get this, and now they are in a market environment where they expected to have this, but they don't know where to start. And just giving them books of, oh, be more empathetic, or why can't you just be a nice person, and don't be so selfish. Like it's very triggering, in the sense it makes people kind of be more back-footed and take on a an approach of I need to protect myself, I'm being attacked, versus again, this whole series isn't about saying who's right or who's wrong or trying to blame anybody. I'd like to bring these issues out as fact, like this is what is happening, so we can resolve or find a solution moving forward. Because it's just it is as is, right? It's not about finding fault. So I hope that helps in at least a little bit in trying to kind of understand where I'm coming from in this discussion. So this is not the easiest way to navigate. Please hold on, I'm having technical difficulties as usual. Technology. All right, here we go. All right, so where's the kind of major disconnect? So right now let's talk about our brain, right? So as society, this imagine this is your brain, you have your left brain and your right brain, and as society so far we have heavily focused on this, right? Because it's what they say, we as society value money. Achievement is, accounted with monetary or influence or power, and that kind of comes from, the where the default is patriarchy is like white male, is like, oh, you need to be a doctor or an engineer, or you need to be smart, you need to have a job, and that's what's going to give you value. Versus your value comes from being human. It's all of you, not just a part of you. So far we only kind of focused on the right part, which is, the math, the basic, typical STEM um issues, and then is, and this is where a lot of men kind of are in that space, right? But your left brain is as important, right? So you have your art, your creativity, um I would say to some extent like empathy. And the issue is like, see, when you are born, when children are born, they kind of like seeds, right? They're like seeds, and then if you let nature do its thing, it grows into this wonderful tree. But for some reason, say I just like constantly kept chopping off like the left branches of that tree and saying, oh, you are a male tree, you don't need your left branch. What are these emotions things? No, you don't need them. The only acceptable emotion is anger. Every time you show, you cry, you feel sad, you feel jealous, I'm just gonna like chop that branch off. What's gonna happen to that tree? You'll have a very weird looking tree which looks like that, and then that's not, that's not natural. That's not what a natural tree would look like, where this is like, what happened here, what happened there? So basically a lot of who we think our personalities is really kind of shaped by your environment, your society, your conditioning, parenting. You're not trying to find fault with anybody, but then this is not, you're not a fully grown tree, you're not in your full humanity, the potential of being that full human, right? And if we give the right kind of gardening tools and sunlight, we could fix this, right? We could have a fully grown tree. It's kind of like a bonsai plant, right? A bonsai plant, when it's growing, compared to a normal plant, you just keep making it, you keep cutting its leaves, cutting and shunting it down, and then it's just shunted tree. It's not, the potential is the same seed. A bonsai tree seed is the same seed that makes like the massive plant, the massive tree, except we kind of societally, like the gardener constrains it, and now it's beautiful but it's not in its full potential. So it's about reaching your full potential, and that's essentially what I'd like to focus on in these set of episodes that I'll be creating. um the other kind of issue I wanted to bring up was, again, there was a Harvard study of adult development, which is like the longest running study, and talks about what are the key for human happiness. And to some extent we know about this from like, like Hallmark's cards and your religious texts, where it's like, oh, money is not, you're not going to die and take your money with you. But we still kind of chase that as a society, right? In the Harvard study, it literally they've like the longest running, they're like three generations of humans who have undergone the study. It basically maps your happiness levels in like different life changes, with job changes, having kids, births and deaths, across three different generations. And they found like the number one predictor is human connections. How healthy are your human connections? How many and it's not just like your wife or your children, it's all human connections with your neighbors, with how many are you friendly with, do you have, a good human, do you feel connected to your society, to your neighborhood, do you have long standing friendships? And that's the key of living a happy, healthy life. And there's also studies that have shown that your health determination, so things like autoimmune diseases, cancer, heart failures, they are closely linked with your psychological health. The more angsty you are, the more social problems you fall in, the worse your health outcomes are. So, the kind of key for human happiness and health is having healthy relationships with other humans. Not just in like a, I would say, like a spousal or a partner sense, but all kinds of, like, from being a teacher to a mentor to, a neighbor. It's that kind of connection and skill set is really, really critical for developing as a full human. For a human to have um, strong sense of self, you need to have essentially an internal value system. So I think I have like maybe 5 more minutes, and I'm just gonna go on this next aspect. No, I am not very good at this. I need to figure this out. I am sorry, guys. Okay. So there's this again this concept of, so people who have, who like right brained are smart enough to kind of do the monkey see monkey do. So the monkey see monkey do is called cognitive empathy. And that's basically I'm going to draw an analogy. If your primary or native language is English and you woke up in a foreign country that you've never been to before and you don't know the language, example, you woke up in France and then you realize, hey, I have no idea what these people are saying. I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to navigate. But then do monkey see, monkey do. You watch what people are doing and then you replicate. So somebody says bonjour, you're like, oh, okay, that means hi. I'm going to say bonjour. Somebody says merci beaucoup. I'm going to say that. So that's cognitive empathy. The problem with, and a lot of people have this, pretty much everybody knows what your typical social norms are, right? Like, it's not nice to just leave your grocery cart on the side of the road. Most people go put it back. That's a social norm. We don't cut in front of others. We don't, your typical, don't murder someone. Don't cheat on your spouse. Things of that nature. But people still do that. So the issue isn't that people don't know that it's wrong to do those things. It's not about knowledge. It's about imbibing the empathy, right? So cognitive empathy is monkey see, monkey do. Everybody can do this for the most part. The difference is, so cognitive empathy works really, really well in like low risk situations. So when everything is stable, when everyone's calm, there are no like high risk outcomes, particularly for self, you can engage in cognitive empathy. However, it's not real empathy. Real empathy is a imbibed sense of empathy, and that's what, like, genuine empathy is something that you feel, or feelings based empathy. So for feelings based empathy, we use the language. So when you look at the English language, we use the word feelings when we're talking about our emotions. How do you feel when somebody said that to you? How did that make you feel? What do you feel about this event that's going to happen in the future? The reason we use the word feel is it's a physical sensation that happens in your body. And the key crux is a lot of grown-ups, not just men, a lot of grown-ups are disconnected from their body. They're disconnected from the feeling of the emotion, which is why they cannot really describe what it is that they're feeling. And we're going to delve deeper into this in the next episode. So, what we want to do is transition from just having cognitive empathy into having a more genuine feelings based genuine empathy. And this is possible. This is possible because your brain essentially is made up of a bunch of nerves. And your nerves are kind of like muscles. If you use them in an appropriate manner, you can build them. So if you're a weak person and you decide, hey, like I want to be jacked, right? Like, so you, what would you do? You'd go to your gym, you have your specialized equipment, you'll have a trainer who'll teach you how to use that equipment. They'll make a plan for you based on, oh, your legs are strong but your arms aren't, so let's focus on your upper body. And then you engage in those activities. Over a period of time, you can, like, balance out your musculature. And that's what we want to do with your nervous system too. You want to balance it out and be a full human, right? And to that's what this series is going to go into. How do you do that? So I'm kind of going to be that trainer where I'll provide you the tools and like the game plan, so you can, because you need to have the building blocks. Without the building blocks, just using terms like, oh, have more empathy, don't hit somebody, don't be angry, like, don't steal, like, we know these things, but people still engage in those behaviors. And the problem is then they feel, they know cognitively that it's bad, and then they hide it or they lie about it. And then that lie of bubble just keeps growing and growing versus like dealing with the issue head on, right? So there's no such thing as a good person. It's just person. People are people. People make mistakes. Behaviors are good and bad because it may impact somebody in a other people in a negative or a positive manner. And we can always change the behaviors, right? So that's kind of what the focus is on in these series of lectures. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to go over just in this episode. And next episode I will go further into how do you kind of get to this, like what are the key building blocks in developing a sense of having genuine empathy. And a hint, a spoiler, you actually start with self. We're not going to talk about other people or humanity. We're going to focus on self, because people who have self compassion and self empathy are the only kind of people who are able to kind of extend that beyond them. If your internal brain talk is negative, you're probably going to treat other people the same way. So we're going to be starting on that aspect. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time and I value your time here. And I will see you in the next episode.